London's economic engine, a tale of two cities. London, a global financial hub, a centre for culture and innovation. It's a city that pulses with energy and opportunity. But beneath the gleaming facade of prosperity lies a more complex reality. While London thrives, other regions of the UK grapple with economic stagnation and uncertainty. The city's financial district, known as the City of London, is a powerhouse of global finance, generating billions in revenue and attracting talent from around the world. However, this concentration of wealth and opportunity in London has come at a cost. The gap between the capital and the rest of the UK has been widening for decades, creating a stark economic divide. This essay will delve into the factors contributing to this disparity, examining the historical context, political decisions and recent geopolitical events that have shaped the UK's economic landscape. The economic disparity between London and the rest of the UK is often referred to as the North-South divide. This term highlights the stark contrast between the prosperity of the South-East, particularly London, and the economic struggles faced by many regions in the north of England, Wales and Northern Ireland. While London enjoys high salaries, booming industries and a thriving property market, other regions grapple with lower wages, higher unemployment and a lack of investment. This divide is not merely an economic issue, it's a social and political one, breeding resentment and fueling a sense of disconnect between the capital and the rest of the country. Historical factors such as the decline of traditional industries in the north have played a role. However, political decisions, particularly those favouring London and the southeast, have exacerbated the problem. Successive governments have been accused of neglecting the needs of regions outside London, focusing investment and resources on the capital at the expense of other areas. Political decisions have played a significant role in shaping the UK's economic landscape and contributing to the disparity between London and other regions. From infrastructure investment to regional development policies, the allocation of resources has often favoured the capital, exacerbating the north-south divide. London has benefited from significant investment in transportation, communication and digital infrastructure, making it an attractive location for businesses and individuals alike. The development of high-speed rail links, such as HS1 connecting London to the Channel Tunnel, has further enhanced London's connectivity and economic advantage. In contrast, other regions have often felt left behind, with inadequate transport links, limited access to broadband, and a lack of investment in essential infrastructure. This lack of investment has hindered economic growth and made it difficult for these regions to attract and retain businesses and skilled workers. While initiatives aimed at boosting growth in lagging regions have been implemented, they have often lacked the scale and long-term commitment needed to make a significant impact. The 2008 financial crisis sent shockwaves through the global economy, and the UK was no exception. However, the impact of the crisis was not felt evenly across the country. While London, with its financial services sector, bore the brunt of the initial shock, the regions, particularly those reliant on manufacturing and heavy industry, suffered a more prolonged and severe downturn. The crisis exposed the UK's economic vulnerabilities and highlighted the over-reliance on London as the engine of growth. As the financial sector contracted, job losses mounted and investment dried up, the ripple effects were felt far beyond the capital. Regions with a less diversified economic base, heavily dependent on sectors hit hard by the crisis, experienced sharp rises in unemployment and business closures. While London, with its global connections and diverse economy, eventually recovered, many regions outside the capital continued to grapple with the aftermath of the crisis. Section 5. Brexit, Uncertainty and Economic Headwinds. The UK's decision to leave the European Union, commonly known as Brexit, has cast a long shadow of uncertainty over the country's economic future. The impact of Brexit on the UK economy is complex and multifaceted, with varying implications for different sectors and regions. One of the most immediate impacts of Brexit has been increased uncertainty and volatility in financial markets. The value of the pound sterling plummeted following the referendum. making imports more expensive and putting upward pressure on inflation. This has eroded consumer purchasing power and squeezed household budgets, particularly for those on low incomes. Brexit has also created significant challenges for businesses, particularly those reliant on trade with the EU. The introduction of new customs checks, border delays, and regulatory divergence has added complexity and costs to doing business, impacting supply chains and disrupting trade flows. Section 6, the COVID-19 pandemic exposing regional inequalities. The COVID-19 pandemic delivered an unprecedented shock to the global economy, and the UK was no exception. Lockdown measures, while necessary to protect public health, brought economic activity to a standstill, leading to widespread job losses and business closures. However, the impact of the pandemic was not felt evenly across the UK. The pandemic exposed and exacerbated existing regional inequalities, with areas already struggling economically bearing the brunt of the crisis. Regions heavily reliant on sectors most affected by the pandemic, such as hospitality, tourism, and retail, experienced disproportionate job losses and economic hardship. In contrast, London, with its more diversified economy and a higher proportion of jobs in sectors less affected by the pandemic, such as finance and technology, weathered the storm relatively better. Section 7, the Ukraine War, adding fuel to the fire. The war in Ukraine, sparked by the Russian invasion in February 2022, has sent shockwaves through the global economy, exacerbating existing inflationary pressures and creating new challenges for businesses and policymakers alike. The conflict has disrupted global supply chains, particularly for energy and food, leading to soaring energy prices and increased costs for businesses and consumers. The UK, heavily reliant on imports of natural gas and oil, has been particularly vulnerable to these price shocks. The war has also heightened uncertainty and volatility in financial markets, making it more difficult for businesses to plan for the future and access capital. This uncertainty is likely to weigh on investment and economic growth in the coming months and years. Section 8. Stagnant wages and rising costs. The squeeze on living standards. The UK is facing a cost of living crisis, with rising inflation eroding real wages and squeezing household budgets. The prices of essential goods and services, such as energy, food, and transportation, have been rising at their fastest rate in decades, putting a strain on household finances. At the same time, wage growth has failed to keep pace with inflation, meaning that many people are experiencing a real terms cut in their incomes. This is particularly acute for low and middle-income households, who spend a larger proportion of their income on essentials. The rising cost of living is having a significant impact on people's lives, forcing many to make difficult choices between heating their homes and putting food on the table. The government has come under increasing pressure to do more to help people struggling with the cost of living. Section 9. Housing crisis, a tale of two housing markets. The UK is in a housing crisis with soaring prices and a shortage of affordable homes. In London, prices outstrip wages, making buying or renting difficult. A lack of new housing supply and rising demand drive the crisis. High costs push many into poverty, choosing between rent and essentials. The government pledges to tackle the crisis, but progress is slow. Section 10. Potential solutions, bridging the divide. Addressing the economic disparity between London and the rest of the UK requires a multifaceted approach that tackles the root causes of the divide. This includes investing in infrastructure, promoting regional economic development, and ensuring that the benefits of economic growth are more evenly distributed. Improving transport links, digital connectivity, and access to affordable energy are essential for unlocking the economic potential of regions outside London. Investing in high-speed rail, expanding broadband access, and supporting renewable energy projects can help to create jobs, attract businesses, and improve living standards. Another crucial aspect is promoting regional economic development. This involves supporting local businesses, fostering innovation, and attracting investment to create a more diversified and resilient economy. Initiatives such as enterprise zones, tax breaks for businesses investing in lagging regions, and support for research and development can help to stimulate economic growth and create jobs. Section 11. Conclusion: navigating the path to a more balanced economy. The UK faces significant economic challenges, from the legacy of the financial crisis and Brexit to the ongoing cost of living crisis and the war in Ukraine. The economic disparity between London and the rest of the country is a pressing issue that requires a concerted effort from policymakers, businesses and communities to address. By addressing the root causes of inequality, investing in infrastructure and education, and promoting regional economic development, the UK can create a more balanced and prosperous economy that benefits everyone, not just those living in the capital. The path ahead will not be easy, but by working together, the UK can overcome these challenges and build a more equitable and prosperous future for all. Right, so Brexit, that whole let's leave the EU thing? It was a monumental decision, one that sent ripples through the entire continent and beyond. Turns out it wasn't exactly a walk in the park. The initial optimism quickly gave way to a harsh reality. Foreign investors, those with the big bucks, they got a bit spooked. The uncertainty surrounding trade deals, regulations, and market access made them wary. Between 2016 and 2021, foreign investment in the UK took a nosedive. The numbers don't lie. We're talking a whopping 25% drop. That's a significant chunk of change, enough to make any economy feel the pinch. That's like trying to run a car on empty. It ain't going to end well. Businesses, they like certainty. They need to know the rules of the game. Brexit, not exactly a byword for stability. The constant back and forth in negotiations, the ever-changing deadlines, it all added to the chaos. So many decided to park their cash elsewhere. They looked for markets with more predictable outcomes, places where their investments would be safer. Can't really blame them, can you? When faced with uncertainty, the natural reaction is to seek stability. The result? A less attractive economy, fewer jobs, and a whole lot of head-scratching in Westminster. Politicians and policymakers are now grappling with the fallout, trying to find ways to make the UK an appealing destination for investment once again. They're exploring new trade deals, offering incentives, and trying to rebuild confidence. But it's a long road ahead. The hope is that with time, the UK can regain its footing and attract the foreign investment it desperately needs. But for now, the brakes are firmly on, and the journey to recovery is just beginning. As if Brexit wasn't enough of the kick in the trousers, along came COVID-19. Talk about rotten luck, eh? This global pandemic, it threw a right spanner in the works for Britain and the whole world, really. Lockdowns, restrictions, you know the drill. Businesses shut down, people stayed home, and the economy sputtered like a dodgy engine. It was a mess, a right royal mess. The UK, already reeling from Brexit, was now facing a whole new set of challenges. Supply chains went haywire, demand plummeted, and unemployment shot up faster than a rocket. It was clear something had to be done, but what? The government, faced with this economic car crash, did what governments do. They spent money. A lot of money. In the face of an unprecedented financial crisis, the likes of which hadn't been seen in decades, the government had to act swiftly and decisively. The economy was teetering on the brink of collapse, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. We're talking £280 billion, a figure that would make even Richard Branson blush. This wasn't just a drop in the ocean, it was a tidal wave of cash aimed at stabilizing the economy. The sheer scale of this financial intervention was staggering, and it left many wondering about the long-term implications. This massive bailout, dubbed the furlough scheme, was designed to keep businesses afloat and people in jobs. It was a lifeline for countless companies and employees who suddenly found themselves in dire straits. The scheme provided a safety net, ensuring that businesses could continue to operate and workers could keep their jobs even as the economic storm raged on. Was it the right call? Well, that's a debate for the pub, isn't it? Opinions are divided, and the topic has sparked countless discussions and arguments. Some believe it was a necessary evil, a bold move that saved the economy from total collapse. Others argue that it was a reckless decision that will have long-lasting repercussions. On the one hand, it prevented a complete economic meltdown. The immediate impact was clear. Businesses stayed open, people remained employed, and the economy kept ticking over. The streets were bustling with activity, and there was a sense of cautious optimism in the air. On the other hand, it sent government debt soaring to eye-watering levels. The long-term consequences of this massive spending spree are still unfolding, and the burden of debt is something that future generations will have to grapple with. The financial charts tell a sobering story, and economic analysts are already warning of potential crises down the road. It was a gamble, a risky one, but sometimes you've got to roll the dice, haven't you? In times of crisis, bold actions are often required, and the government took a chance in the hope of averting disaster. Only time will tell if it was the right move, but for now, the debate rages on. Was it a necessary evil or the road to ruin? The answer, it seems, is still up for grabs. Just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, Russia decided to invade Ukraine. The world watched in shock as the conflict unfolded, with devastating consequences for the people of Ukraine and a ripple effect that would soon be felt globally. Now, I'm not here to talk politics, but this conflict, it had a ripple effect that reached all the way to Blighty. The invasion set off a chain reaction that impacted economies and energy supplies far beyond the borders of Ukraine and Russia. Russia, you see, is a major supplier of oil and gas. Their vast reserves of natural resources have long been a cornerstone of the global energy market. When the conflict began, it wasn't just a regional issue. It was a global energy crisis in the making. The war and the sanctions slapped on Russia sent energy prices through the roof. Countries around the world scrambled to find alternative sources of energy, but the sudden disruption caused prices to spike dramatically. It wasn't just about the cost of fuel, it was about the stability of the entire energy market. And guess what? The UK, we're rather fond of our heating, aren't we? As the temperatures dropped, the demand for heating soared, and with it, the cost of keeping our homes warm. It wasn't just a matter of comfort, it was a matter of necessity. Inflation, that nasty beast, reared its ugly head. The cost of living began to climb, and it wasn't just energy prices that were affected. The ripple effect of the conflict and the sanctions spread to other sectors of the economy, driving up the prices of goods and services across the board. Prices for everything from petrol to groceries went up. The weekly shop became a source of stress for many families as they struggled to make ends meet. The cost of commuting, heating, and even basic necessities became a burden. It was like being stuck in a runaway roller coaster, only less fun. The uncertainty and volatility of the situation left many feeling anxious and overwhelmed. The impact of the Ukraine war on energy prices was a stark reminder of how interconnected our world truly is, and how events in one part of the globe can have far-reaching consequences for us all. Section 5. Winter is coming. Soaring energy bills and mounting debt. Remember those sky-high energy prices? Yeah, they hit British households right in the wallet. Heating bills doubled, tripled, in some cases even quadrupled. People were literally having to choose between heating their homes and putting food on the table. Not ideal, is it? The government, already drowning in debt from the COVID-19 bailout, now faced a new crisis. They had to do something to help struggling families. But every pound spent was another pound added to the national debt. It was a vicious cycle, and there seemed to be no easy way out. Section 6. Debt avalanche. Public services feel the pinch. Now, all this borrowing and spending, it comes at a cost. And that cost, my friends, is borne by public services. The NHS, education, social care, they all started to feel the pinch. Hospitals were short-staffed, schools were crumbling, and social care was, well, let's just say it wasn't pretty. The government was caught between a rock and a hard place, help struggling families or fund vital public services. It was a lose-lose situation. Section 7. Where have all the workers gone? A shrinking workforce struggles. Here's another headache for the UK economy. A shrinking workforce. Brexit, remember? Yeah, that made it a tad trickier for workers from the EU to come and, actually work. Add to that an aging population with more people retiring than entering the workforce, and you've got yourself a recipe for, well, not good things. Businesses struggled to find staff, wages stagnated, and the economy sputtered along. It's all well and good having a booming economy, but if you haven't got the workers to fuel it, you're basically stuck in neutral. Section 8, immigration, a solution or a source of strife. So how do you solve a worker shortage? One word, immigration, but it's a touchy subject, isn't it? Brexit was partly fueled by concerns about immigration, and yet here we are, needing more immigrants to fill those empty job vacancies. Ironic, isn't it? The government found itself walking a tightrope, relax immigration rules to boost the economy, but risk angering those who voted for Brexit, or stick to a tough stance on immigration and watch the economy struggle. Not an enviable position, is it? Section 9, challenges remain, a long road to recovery. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The UK economy is facing some serious challenges. Brexit, COVID-19, the Ukraine war, it's been a perfect storm of, well, unpleasantness. Inflation is still high, energy prices are volatile, and the national debt is, frankly, terrifying. It's going to take time, effort, and probably a bit of luck to get things back on track. There's no quick fix, no magic wand to wave away the problems. It's going to be a long, hard slog. Section 10, a glimmer of hope, innovation and resilience offer a path forward. The UK, despite its current woes, has a lot going for it. We're a nation of innovators, entrepreneurs, and frankly, rather good at muddling through. We've faced tough times before, and we've always come out the other side. There are already signs of hope. The economy is slowly starting to recover, businesses are adapting, and people are, as always, finding ways to make ends meet. It's not going to be easy, but the British spirit, that indomitable spirit, it's still there. Section 11, the bottom line. Can Britain bounce back? So can Britain bounce back? Can we overcome these challenges and build a brighter economic future? Well, I'm an optimist, always have been. So my answer is a resounding yes. It won't be easy, it won't be quick. But we've got the grit, the determination and the sheer bloody-mindedness to pull through. It's time to roll up our sleeves, put our shoulders to the wheel and get this country back on track. We've done it before and we can bloody well do it again.